A lot of good things.
Today's presidential proposal means you could pay more for products made with steel and aluminum after Donald Trump announced punishing new tariffs.
It'll be 25% for steel. It'll be 10% for aluminum. And it'll be for a long period of time.
The move meant to target China.
Dow going out with a decline of more than 430 points on the bell.
Moved markets fast, with the Dow dropping on fears of an international trade war. But the president, in protectionist mode, argues this will ultimately help key industries and jobs at home, like Harris Steel in Illinois.
Yeah, they want to protect, manufacturing in the United States, which is great, but I think there's other ramifications.
But for consumers?
The winners here are steel companies in the United States who sell steel. The losers are any company that buys steel, and that means they're going to pass those costs on to their customers.
So how much more could you pay for, say, a car or a washing machine? It's still not clear, with few details after a seemingly off-the-cuff announcement. The president's position is no surprise.
We're going to bring back our jobs.
He campaigned on it with tough talk on tariffs even as far back as 2011, specifically challenging China.
Listen, you going to tax you 25%.
But today's timing caught even some staffers off guard, along with key allies on Capitol Hill.
It's just going to be a huge tax on American citizens.
House Speaker Paul Ryan says he hopes the president will consider the unintended consequences. More businesses in the U.S. use steel than make it, meaning they might be less competitive under the new policy. On the international front, Canada sells more steel to the U.S. than any other country and is tonight calling any new trade restrictions absolutely unacceptable. There is a catch, though. The president is not expected to formally sign this into action until next week, leaving maybe a little wiggle room for him to be persuaded to change his mind.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Donald Trump and the proposed steel tariff. When I say proposed, because it is not signed into law as of yet, as you saw in the report from NBC News. There were a few things that were not 100% accurate in that story, but for the most part, they got their facts right, and I'll explain. They brought up washing machines and said that customers may pay more for the washing machines, and they tried to kind of link it to the steel tariff, even though they didn't really say it's because of the steel tariff. Let's be clear here. Washing machines may have a different price. They may go up or they may not go up because there's a tariff on washing machines specifically, not just the components of the washing machine, okay? Matter of fact, that news came out at the same time of the solar panel news. Remember that when people said that, oh, he's putting tariffs on solar panels because he wants to kill the renewable energy thing that we have going on here. But the reality is we make solar panels right here in the U.S. So why do we need to rely upon solar panels made in China and other places? And speaking of China, many have said that this is going to be targeting China directly. That may even be Trump's intended purpose in the tariff, to try and get the fair trade a little bit more fair, because you can just take everything from all over the world. But at a certain point, what are you producing? If you get all your stuff from China, everything, you get your washing machine, cell phones, like there are no cell phones right now made in the USA, 0 cell phones. Matter of fact, even if we could make cell phones here in the U.S., most of the materials that go in them to make them operate, even the thing that makes it vibrate, the haptic feedback and stuff like that, those are called rare earth metals or rare earth materials, and they all come from China, or China has dominance in that whole market. Coltan, all that kind of stuff, either it comes from China specifically, or China has the rights to be able to mine it from places like Africa or wherever else. So the point I'm making here is that many of these tariffs are designed not necessarily to just punish China. It's designed to try and get more manufacturing here in the States. Now, like I said before, Trump may be trying to target China, but China would not be the only one affected. Matter of fact, I was watching a clip from CNBC. Now, they could be wrong, they could be right, but in that clip, they said China's like number 10. They're not really very high on the list as far as steel exporters to the U.S. The biggest steel exporter to the U.S. is Canada. And I've heard that Canada has expressed, a grievance about the tariff, and they may have retaliatory measures. We also get a lot of our water from Canada. So, water, power, steel, a lot of things we get from Canada. So I'm not the kind of guy that says you should put tariffs on everything, because there's some things that we can't really get here in abundance like we need, but there are many things that we can get here that we need. And that includes power, that includes steel. A lot of the coal mines have shut down because of EPA regulations, and the EPA regulations, all that those do is just offshore jobs to different places, India, China, etc. People say that the steel plants, the coal mines or whatever, they may contribute to global warming because of pollution. That's not really been proven in my humble opinion. Even if it does, shipping the jobs overseas is not going to change it. If we still consume the same amount of products we consume right now, they still have to be produced, and the same amount of waste products will be produced as a result. So therefore, all the dust, all the smog, all the harmful CO2 pollution into the atmosphere is still going to be there. But rather than coming from here in New York, Los Angeles, it'll come from China, India, etc. Do you know that 30% of California's pollution comes from China? Okay. So we're not really solving anything by trying to shut down coal mines here. If the solution is to try and combat global warming, climate change, global cooling, or whatever other buzzword or phrase they want to use today to describe the thing going on with the weather in the world. As I close, I want to say this. My statements, my feelings about the tariffs. I think that tariffs can be good, but they also may have unintended consequences. You're talking about 25% on steel. A lot of companies purchase steel to make things with steel. Sometimes companies produce it, but they also buy it. And if you have a tariff, that may be an issue. And it's not necessarily just going to impact China. Like I said, they're not really high on the list as far as steel exporters. However, they are high on the list as far as exporters in general. There's a very big trade deficit. The move by Trump may be to reduce the trade deficit, also to get more American manufacturing, because let's be clear, let's face it, we need more American manufacturing. We cannot keep relying upon other people to do things that we can't do for ourselves. Some things we're not going to be able to produce solely on our own, and that's just the reality of it. But at a certain point, we need to produce more things here. We cannot be simply a nation of consumers without any ability to make the things we consume for ourselves. So what do you think? Are you a fan of the tariffs? Are you not a fan of the tariffs? Are you a fan of free trade, fair trade, open trade? How about NAFTA? How about the deals we have with Asian countries? What's going on with that? Do you think that China will retaliate against us because of this move? Do you think that China will do things as far as buying our bonds and stuff like that? I don't think China's really in a position to do anything really drastic as a result of this, because the reality is they depend upon us to be a big trade partner. China is almost like the converse of the U.S. Okay, they export everything, and that is how they are able to feed their people. You got 1.3 billion people in the country of China. And in order to provide everybody with a job, everybody with food, everybody with clothing and with shelter, you relying upon other countries to buy things from you. So what can it really do to us as it relates to that? On the other hand, what can we do to them? All we can do is say, okay, if you want to give things to us, if you want to sell things to us, it'll be more expensive. So I don't know how it's going to work out. Maybe we have a trade war going on, but I'm interested to see what happens as a result. Is there anything I missed here? Are there any other consequences that may come as a result? As you saw in the report, prices of certain things go up, but maybe they won't. And if prices do go up, maybe that'll be offset by the jobs we have in the country as a result of less dependence upon other nations. As a close real, I'm going to say this, and I'll leave it at that. We must produce more things here as a people. A country cannot survive when they cannot produce the things that they consume. Look at what's happening right now with Nigeria. Nigeria is one of the largest holders of crude oil. They have some of the largest crude oil reserves in the world. However, the majority of the fuel that the average person uses comes from elsewhere because they can't refine it. You can't just rely upon other people for your own needs, because when you are in that situation, you're at the mercy of whatever they want to do, whatever they want to give you. If we're relying upon Chinese things like food, oh my goodness, don't rely upon that. They may give us whatever they want. They give us things that have all kind of poison, arsenic, mercury, or whatever. We need to do things for ourselves, because nobody's going to be a better advocate for you, yourself, and your people than you, yourself, and your people. But whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.